Okay. Um, so, from our last interaction, we saw that these fundamentals, the whole point is to give us confidence. As we're building with AI, we are able to have confidence and understand what we are generating and how we can improve it. So we looked at the styling, like typography, how to, that text hierarchy on websites, and also how to handle things like grids. Let's say you have, cards of information on your website. How best, okay, to understand how they are well presented. And then we also saw responsive design. As we build websites, most of our customers or traffic comes from people who are using mobile devices. So as we do web development, we have to keep in mind that we're supposed to build websites that are responsive and work very well on mobile devices. Um, so to maybe if I just go. So we went through some of the things. I think I shared these slides with you. But for today, our target, what we want to achieve, is from our first session we saw HTML and CSS. But today, I want us to go through Bootstrap and understand things like what to do and what not to do, and then also JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, and then the DOM fundamentals. Um, and then in our next session, we shall be now graduating to React. Everything we are going to look at today is just, it's just like the basics that we need before we go to the next level. So I hope you guys understand what we are going to go through here. Um, so, some of the things as we're going to see in the code, I'm going to show you guys. The key areas that we are supposed to take note of while using Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a UI. It's a UI utility that allows us to build websites very fast by reducing the number of CSS that we write. For example, its grid system, you have to use things like container. If you want items in a row, you just call this class name. If you want things in a column with a particular width size, you just you call that. Let's say you want to give a margin bottom of 3 pixels. You what you call that, so it condenses the CSS that we would write. We saw that you would have to write CSS classes for each element. Now, like text centering, you just put text center as we're going to see in the code. So Bootstrap allows us, and we have picked it because it gives us the basics. We shall see how nav bars come about, the cards in a few, and also without writing CSS from scratch, we are going to see that. And then also in our demo, we shall see what to do and then what not to do. Some of the things that I kept on mentioning in our last session, of using a consistent visual hierarchy. That is when you're displaying information, especially titles. You don't put a small title above a bigger title, unless it's something else. For purposes of readability, um, and then also using arbitrary pixel margins, we shall see that these values play an important role, especially when you're positioning and aligning content on a website. And then also, the things to always do, as I've mentioned, always prioritize mobile first design in every website you're doing. Even when you're prompting AI, always ensure that what you're building, what you're prompting, um, allows mobile first design. You make sure that the buttons are friendly on mobile devices, and yeah, that makes it mobile friendly. And we're also going to see in the last presentation you guys did, the last session you guys did with AI Studio, where you came up with a tour website. Um, you guys were able to come up with the layouts and everything, but then now how to add interactivity. Let's say clicking a button and I get feedback, reserving, making a booking. So we are looking at how we bring these websites to life, and that's the process, that's the journey we are going to take until we reach React. But now these are now the fundamentals that aim to open up your mind to understand how JavaScript, because as we shall see in React in our next session, React is just, it will just abstract all of these things, but we shouldn't learn, we have to learn them. We don't just have to jump to React. That's where most people go wrong. We have to make sure that we understand these basics, so that when we go to React, we are very confident. We know that, okay, this is happening because of this, uh, stuff like that. So we shall look at things like selecting elements. We shall look at conditional logic, if else, and then variables, just in brief, nothing complex. Um, Usually the fundamentals are really easy. Then we shall look at event listeners. Event listeners, as you hear the word event, these are now like when you click a button on a website, um, what should happen? We have to listen to that event. Users clicked on a button. What should we do? Um, and then also updating content, that is changing inner text and styles. That is when someone clicks a button, we show them a nice message. Your booking has been received. Your order has been confirmed. Something like that, to give feedback on their event. So we shall also see that in our demo. I'll go step by step. And then for this other section, for the React one, I think we shall give it time, because from my assessment, I think I shared with Ashraf, we shall need to go step by step so that you guys um, understand these basics. This is also still quite a lot, but we shall break it down. So we are going to focus on this, on step 1 and step 2, and then for our session next week, we shall be able to now go deeper. But for now, we are going to focus on these basics and make sure we get them at the back of our minds. So let me open. Can you guys see my editor, VS Code? Oh, people are using mobile devices. Let me zoom in a bit. I don't know if this is better. Okay. Um, so so we saw last time the structure of an HTML file, and we understood that usually in this head part is where we have external links. This is now things like font styles from Google, styles, CSS styles, import, the SEO information. Um, we all have it in the head, in the head tag. And you can also see the title here that appears in the tab up there in the browser. So we saw that, and then we also saw that um, in the body part, this is where now we have things like the nav bar. We have the header part, and then we have the content section. We have the content section, whereby now this is now the website information, um, as you can see. And then for HTML, usually the JavaScript is imported down here. And as you can see, we have our folder here. I'll share this code with you guys. We have our folder here. Have an index with HTML. And then we have our script where we are going to go step by step and understand the JavaScript and the DOM manipulation. And then also we are going to see how, you see, we have written minimal CSS, but you guys are going to see how the output looks like. So that if you're together on that, you see, as I said, in the body, that's where we have most of the web content. And again, if we advance to React, we shall see how it's able to abstract this for us, and make it easier for us to write this code for the front end. So you guys will again check through this code and try to understand it as well. Also, as I mentioned last time, if you're using VS Code, to be able to run your HTML files, to review them in real time, you need an extension called Live Server. This extension allows you to preview your HTML files. As you can see here, I'll stop this. It's usually in the bottom, at the bottom right here. If you see this, go live. If you click on go live, it will open. It will open what? It will open your HTML file in the browser, and as you can see, this is what we have. Again, you see, if you look at the CSS that we have, you might think we didn't write any CSS. You see, we only have these styles on the custom cards, and they're all transforming. But then you see how Bootstrap has allowed us to come up with something like this, while writing minimal CSS. And then also for the part of responsiveness, you will see, this is what I was saying. Bootstrap by default makes sure that your website sections are responsive on most devices, and you can see the cards have been able to wrap accordingly, as you can see. But for now, that's what you guys saw last time. I'll use this example to understand how we add interactivity and also understanding the DOM. So the DOM, for starters, is this browser part, this where we're viewing the website from. That is the DOM, and the DOM can be manipulated in a way that allows us to modify information based on particular events. Let's say when a user has clicked a button, for example, someone comes and is like, okay, I want to book a spot for this place, and they click on book. What should happen? We need to give them feedback. If I can't click 100 times here and I don't see anything, then it means your website is usable. So this brings me to the part where we are adding interactivity to our websites. This now means that when people come to visit, for example, our tourism website, they are able to proceed to make bookings, and among other things. So the thing doesn't just look at them. So that's what we are going to try to understand today. As you can see, even here, even if I click, nothing happens. But before we go to the button clicks and everything, I want us to first understand the typography. As I said last time, we can't have a small heading above a bigger heading. So as we build our websites, we have to make sure that that hierarchy goes on and on, for every sections that we shall be building, that you will be building in your projects. For example, now here, this one, and then we have this subtext here below. As you can see, there are variable sizes. Even in cards, you see it's the same thing. This text here has to be more bigger than this one here, like that. So if you keep that in mind, you make sure that you'll be able to craft nice solutions. Even when you generate solutions with AI, you'll be able to understand that, okay, I need to make this text bigger, I need to make this smaller because of how someone will be looking at my website, how someone will be able to understand the website. And as you can see, usually I prefer when I do it side by side. Allow me do this. So when I do side by side, we can both follow. You see, Bootstrap allows us to use it allows us to use things like sorry, where is this thing? Which screen are you guys seeing? Are you guys seeing the this Gundi here? Which screen are you guys seeing? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, which screen are you seeing? I think my screens have jumped. Yeah, okay. I thought you're seeing something else. Let me do this. I think the dividing part is going to disturb me a bit. So let me just walk you through briefly. So Bootstrap allows us, as you can see, we have linked Bootstrap from here. I think when you Google, you'll be able to see how Bootstrap is added to HTML. It's quite standard. It has never changed for years now. It's actually a good UI utility that allows us to understand how items, work in an HTML environment. So I would encourage you guys to play around with it. Even when I share this code with you, please go on your own and play around with Bootstrap to give you a good background and fundamentals. So you can see things like BG light. This is now background light. It allows you to you get to have this nice white background here, a bit gray, but you get to have that nice background without you writing any code. You don't have to write any serious code for that. So that's where Bootstrap is able to, make your life easier. Even when you want to do a nav bar, these are quite standard. You want it to be dark, you give it a background of dark. You give it a padding of Y. This is now the vertical Y axis, you give it a padding in the Y axis. This is now the font size, font weight, you give it bold, So this approach of Bootstrap prepares you to work with those bigger frameworks, Tailwind CSS as we saw. All the frameworks that we are using now that are modern, most of them actually pick a leaf from Bootstrap. So that's why we're using Bootstrap as our fundamental, so that you guys can play around with it a lot, become familiar with it. You will see then when you go to those big frameworks, those big libraries of the UI, most of them will be similar. You can make your text white. You can put your text center, stuff like that. You can put a particular section in a container. This makes it responsive on devices. You put in a container, and then it will be able to play around within that container. Maybe to show you what I mean is if I do a block element here, so you'll see that we have these sections here. Now this can be like a container. This can be like now a div. Um, um, you know, and then for the cards as well, we shall see when we go to React. Here we are doing the cards manually. As you can see, action false. we are repeating them multiple times. As you can see, that's the first card. Then here we have the second card, the third card. So when we go to React, we shall only have one card component, and that's our code will reduce significantly. And you'll appreciate that with the fundamentals you can do something, but as we advance you'll be able to do more. But as I've told you guys, Bootstrap is quite it's not so much, but you play around with it, you understand things like columns, and then flex. Here you can create a card. You create a card, give it a height of 100, you give it a border, a shadow. Then you can also use your custom CSS. This is from now the CSS file that we created, this custom card, adding the transition, like when we hover, it's able to behave like that. You can see now with this card title, we don't have to write any CSS for this. As you can see now, CSS, we don't have card title anywhere. But here, when we say card title like this, it will know that this is a card title without writing too much. So as you progress, you realize that some of these things enable us to write less code. Like, you don't spend a lot of time writing CSS files because they can become big. So when you use things like Bootstrap, your work becomes easier. You just say that, okay, this thing here, this title here, this word here is a title. This is also a text. Text muted becomes gray as if it's silent, and so much more. Margin top, and then here's our button. Our focus is going to be on the buttons because we want to understand how JavaScript brings our HTML to life. That's something we are going to look at. And yeah, so that's basically Bootstrap, and I would encourage you guys to go and play around with it, and you understand how nice it is. So we are now going to look at these are the interactivity bit. As I said, when you build your nice, our site is beautiful and everything, but now when a person comes to maybe book a spot, nothing happens. So what do we do? So JavaScript and the DOM allow us to be able to play around with these elements, and how it does that. Let me go back here. From our last session, we saw that when we want to pick out elements, we use ID. For example, on this button here, for the first card, Maction Falls, we give it this ID of, we call it button card 1. Even in Bootstrap, when you say btn, it understands that it's a button. That's why this book spot looks like a button, because we call this class and it's outline, and it's semi-bold. So btn is a word, it's as button. So this is our first button here, button 1. And in our JavaScript file here, what our goal is to understand DOM selection and also event listeners. These are now the things that happen when you click the buttons, and this is how we pick out. This is how we pick out those elements, from HTML. Since we use the ID, we use this hashtag here. For the first card, its first button, we use this btn card 1. Even for the second, we used the btn card 2. Even for the third, we used btn card 3. So we use document selector. As you can see, there are no imports. We don't do anything like import what. We don't have to import anything. As long as you create your file and call it maybe script.js, like that, with a JS annotation, file extension, sorry, you are able to now start writing and use these things of a document. Document is now the web page, and we are trying to query by a selector by the ID. So we want to get sorry, things so we want to get access to these buttons, and this is how we do. We now have access to them, and then we shall have a booking alert. Let me take you back briefly. Let me collapse these cards. So we shall have this section here. As you can see, it's hidden. We don't see it. We don't see this thing by default because we have this display none. D-9, D-9 means display none. So that means that by default, that element is hidden with a display of none. So when we click on book now, we want to be able to see this thing, for someone to know that, okay, I've booked. How do I know now that my thing has been confirmed? We show them this message. We don't click a button and it just looks at you. You're supposed to give users feedback. So we have also gotten access to that booking alert using this ID here. It has an ID here, so that we have extracted it as well. We can manipulate it from here, as you're going to see. And then also the alert message. Where is it? This one here. This wording here of reservation confirmed. We are also going to see how we play with it. But here we have to select it first. In JavaScript, you have to first select the elements that you're picking out from that HTML page. So we're going to have a function called handle booking that takes in the button element and then also the tour name. This allows us to allow them to book for a particular activity. Is it Maction Falls or Windy? Here they're able to do that. So let's do that. Let me just pick this thing. Where is it? And then let me paste this here. So let's go through this step by step, just to save time. As I said, our first step, working with JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript and the DOM, we have to first select the elements that we want to manipulate. We get them by their IDs. When you get them by their IDs, that we are able to play around with them. And also the booking alert and its message, we get it as well. And now we have this function here called handle booking. This is now the one that handles the reservation. What we want with this, as you're going to see, as I said, the DOM changes. We're able to change the information in the button. That is when someone clicks, we can now change that information, and we say we can check a loading spinner if it's a long process, if it's an API call. Here we are going to make it instant. We are going to change the information immediately. We change it to reserved. When a user clicks on book now, we show that it's reserved. And then also we remove a particular class that makes the button blue. This is now showing you how JavaScript allows you to now manipulate. You're now playing with the UI, with the web page. You can change classes. You can make the button blue. When I click on book now, you can make the button to whichever color you want. Button successes gives it green. It gives it green. The button becomes green. So you can remove and then you add the styling like that in that flow, step by step. and you also disable it. You can disable that button when they click, so they don't reserve again, because some users can click reserve, reserve, reserve. So when the process is successful, you disable. Again, we're just trying to understand how the DOM can be manipulated using JavaScript, and these are some of the ways that it happens. And there's so much you can do, by the way. But for this session, let's try to keep it simple. And I believe when you guys get this code, you look through again, and in case nothing makes sense, you text in the WhatsApp group that is open. You can send a message that, okay, you told us this, but I don't understand, and then I should be able to clarify. um so also we are going to change the alert message. As you can see, you can decide to change the whole information. You'll be like reservation for maybe action false or wind impenetrable has been logged, something like that. So this is how we display those variables, string variables. Here you underline it. You can do whatever you want. Strong, this is now like bold. You're making the text bold. And then as you can see in the booking alert, by default it has a display of none. This is a bootstrap class. We remove it. This allows that message to show. When we remove this display of none, it makes it visible, as we shall see. And then, but before we even come to handling the booking, we have to attach event listeners. These are now, as I said, as we manipulate the DOM, we have things like buttons, and those buttons usually are click events. Everything has there is on hover, like when you hover on something, we pass over it with a mouse. That's also an event that we can listen to. But for this session, we want to listen to strictly click events. That's why you're seeing click here. It's not by accident. We're using JavaScript to listen to the click events in the web page, and that's where we now add an event listener. Remember, we use the query selector to pick out the buttons for the first card, the second card, and the third. As you can see, so we now say that for the first button, we want to add an event listener. When a user clicks on that button, what do? We want to call this. We want to call this function. When the user what? When the user clicks on that button. But for this first card is from action false, so we have to also distinguish that, so that we show the action false in the message, in the alert message, for that specific. And then we also say that for the second button, the second card, its button, we also attach an event listener to the click event. When a user clicks on that button, we first of all pass that card, and then we also pass the tour name. We pass it to this function. So this function is one that, as you can see, it's reusable. We are using it everywhere. Even in React, as we advance, we shall still see the same thing. Reusability is very important in JavaScript to write less code. Otherwise, we would have to now uh, have these blocks inside here, and the code will be the same, duplicated and bloated. So I hope you guys are on the same page. As you're following, you understand that the click events for the DOM, and to allow JavaScript to manipulate the web page, we have to attach things like event listeners, and some of the events in web pages include click events. Click is an event, like when a user clicks, for example, on a button, we have to listen to that, and then we apply some things accordingly. So this is that. So if we go back to our browser, okay, I have many. Okay, this one here. So if we come back here and then we maybe click on action false, you will see that success. Your reservation from action falls has been logged, and you can see the button is disabled as we saw in the code. You can't click again, and it's reserved. So you can also do the same for windy like that. So this is now, we are now adding interactivity to our web page. We are now going beyond presentation, but we're now making it reactive. As you can see, even Ginger, you see this name is changing accordingly as we saw in the code. So that's now JavaScript in action. It's it's allowing us to do these things easily. And we shall see when we move to React, we can now make API calls to maybe submit this information to the database. So step by step we shall get there, but I request you guys to just understand these basics, because they are what we build on top of, and you never stop seeing them. So even here, you can see you pass this. You can also pass this amount here, and then maybe send it to the back end, to the API, for processing. You can also get number of people like that. But for this session, the goal was for you guys to understand that when we build websites, usually there are things that we also have to look at, such as interactivity. That is when buttons are clicked, maybe by users. How do we handle such a scenario? The fundamentals start from JavaScript. As I mentioned, we start our fundamentals of making websites responsive and reactive. When we click on things, it starts from JavaScript and then DOM manipulation. So for this session, the goal was to show you the possibility, of JavaScript, just for you guys to understand that this is how we query, um, and then this is how we execute using an event handler. Um, First of all, okay, the first step is selecting DOM elements, and then the second step is to create an event handler. Like so we are sent to an event of click. How are we going to handle that click event? By creating an event handler. It's a must. So when you create an event handler, meaning that when you listen to those events, be it a click, you're able to now to handle that event accordingly. And the event here is now booking. That's why we call it handle booking. We are now handling that event. So there's actually more we could do, but this is to me, this is quite the basics that I want you guys to take note of. I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this with you guys so that you can go through step by step. And I don't know if you have any questions now or you have them later, but I would take on some questions from you guys. That's if. Hmm. Oh, I didn't share. Oh my God, sorry. Um, sorry. So when you come to Google, and then maybe you search for Bootstrap, usually it's the first site here. They have this site here. You can come to get started, um, whereby they show you, as I was showing in code, they will tell you that create an index.html, and then you paste this particular part, um, and then they will tell you to add these links. Bootstrap CSS, actually forgot this one here, but you can see this one in the head we already had already. So you just copy and paste. Even these ones, you can paste them along, and that's it. That's how you get started with it. And also for the, they also have examples. They have I don't know where those components are. Did they change them? You can find those components here actually under the doc still. You can be able to see those navbar. They even give you examples. That's the beautiful part of it. Even when you prompt AI, as Ashraf has said, your first task before you even jump to JavaScript, try to generate websites with web pages with Bootstrap, HTML, and then try to understand the code. It will give you a good background. And the good thing, the site also shows you, in case you want to put a logo in the navbar, they show you how it's done. You just copy and paste, and then you play around with that. So all the elements are here. There's nothing you're going to get from your head. Um, Even when AI generates for you something that you don't understand, come back here on the official Bootstrap site and check out the cards. In case you don't want what the AI has given you, here you can be able to change it to how you want. So this is the site here again. You just search Bootstrap on Google, and you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see it among the first sites. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question. Sorry, what you've said, Ashraf. Okay.